Welcome to this special edition of the Album Anniversary Podcast. I want to say thanks for joining me. If you're new to the show, you've never listened to the show before, just stumbled in because you want to hear this certain guest who has joined the show today. My name is Caleb. I'm the host of the show. It's a weekly show. We release new episodes every Tuesday, and we just discuss albums we love. That is what we're here doing. Sometimes it's Amy Grant, sometimes it's Goldfinger, sometimes it's Stave Saker. We're all over the place. That's the way we roll on this show. But it's every Tuesday, a new episode. Please subscribe and share the podcast if you enjoy it. We're also on all the social media things. We are on Facebook. We're on YouTube. We also have a Patreon where we do at least one extra show every month. We were super excited for our guest today. It's Mark Salomon from Stave Saker. Earlier in the week, we released an episode on how to live with a curse as it's celebrating a 20-year anniversary. And Mark was kind enough to jump on a call and talk about the album a little bit with me. So you get a bonus episode. You get more how to live with a curse. It's really how to live with a curse week here on the Album Anniversary Podcast. So I really hope you enjoyed this episode. Mark just shares some insights into the record, into the time, into what was going on with the band. Really cool to hear. Always really, really exciting stuff to hear. So I think that's all I wanted to say. Oh, I'm not going to edit the swearing out. Sometimes I do that on the episodes. Most of the time I edit out the swearing. We went really quick, and so I forgot to kind of mention that to Mark, so I don't want to spring that on him. So I didn't edit the swears, so be aware there's going to be the explicit tag on this one. And there you go. Just a heads up about that. Thanks so much, Mark, for joining the show, and I hope everybody enjoys it. I want to welcome to the show, Mark Salomon. Thanks so much for taking a little time to talk to me about this album.
No, thanks for having me. Appreciate it very much.
So How to Live with a Curse celebrates a 20-year anniversary. So I got to transport our minds back to 2006. And this was a bit of a transition for the band in some ways. You had a brief time with Nitro recording or Nitro Records. I don't know what it is. Switched to Abacus Recordings. And then also first time, I believe, working with Matt Hyde.
It was.
What was kind of the progression from that 2000, I think it's 2002 to 2006 record?
So the Matt Hyde thing I'd speak to for sure. I mean, that wasn't the first time I'd ever worked with him because I had done that one song with Project 86 and he was in there and we met each other there and he's a Raiders fan, I'm a Raiders fan. He's
made it easy. You could suffer together.
Very, yes. Yeah. And he was just a really funny dude, but also highly skilled and the guys were fired up to work with him after the job he did on that record. I think it was Truthless Heroes for those guys. And but it was kind of I don't want to say a weird time. It was actually it was pretty good. It was good, man. I think we started tracking and really started writing it in like 2005.
Okay.
But I think we had most recently done, I can't remember which came first, the Nitro Records thing or the Bull Takes Fighter EP.
Bull Takes Fighter is 2005. So
okay,
yeah.
So it was right after that then, or right? Am I? Yeah, it was right after that because Bull Takes Fighter we had done, and it was Neil Samoy was still in the band, and we were really had a weird. The Nitro thing was rough, dude. And it's easy to put it on the label, but it really wasn't on the label. Wherever you are, Mitchell Townsend, you're a saint and an angel. But it was, and I'm truly sorry. We were a mess, man. The band was really very, very fractured for the recording of that record. There's a lot was going on personally, stuff that I would never want to discuss here. And it's always weird, man, when a band keeps changing members. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, I grew up listening to U2 my whole, they were one of the first bands I ever really cared about when I was a little kid. And, you know, I saw them not too long ago at the Sphere. They did like a Achtung Baby
Hmm.
residence there. And it was, I guess Larry, the drummer, was not well. He's having some health issues, and so he wasn't able to be on this residency. And they had this random dude playing drums, and it's like it's a drummer, you know.
Yeah.
Larry didn't sing a lot or anything, so it's not like unless you were also a drummer, you probably wouldn't really notice, Except that I did,
Hmm.
like I totally knew the guy wasn't in the band, and that felt weird. It was like watching not the real band,
Hmm.
And I know that's probably not fair to those guys or something. I don't know. I don't care. It didn't feel the same. And like at this point when we were doing How to Live with a Curse, we had gone through it. Baloo
Hmm.
left during Speakeasy, and then Neil joined shortly after that came out. And then we did the Nitro record. And aside from the fact that the band had all of our own personal stuff going on, it also didn't really sound like us. It was the first time we had recorded anything away from Brian Karlstrom. And
Hmm.
rest in peace. That was one of my very close friends and a guy that had been with Dave Zicker since the very first record. So, we go do this album with David Bianco, who is also now passed. But it just there were a lot of elements to it that didn't feel like Stave Zaker,
Hmm.
and not and that's nothing against Neil. We were stoked to have Neil. Neil was there for so much of recording Speakeasy. A lot of people don't realize that. Like, oh, when did Ryan's like writing all the songs? Like, dude, Ryan's basically been in the band since we wrote Absolutes.
Hmm.
He was around us the whole time. Neil was there for every step of the way during Speakeasy. He was there when we were finishing it at track record and stuff like that. And he joined the band to, go on the road with us. We wrote, got the Nitro deal, trying to come up after Tooth and Nail and thinking that this was going to be a good opportunity for us. And it just was not a good match. But also, we were a hot mess.
Hmm.
The reason I bring all that up is, after Nitro, and we kind of found like we kind of got kicked back a little bit, expectations lowered, and we were like, you know what, man, let's just make something fun and something that feels good. And so we did Voltix Fighter, and it was ferocious,
Yeah.
and then we got to go back with Brian. You know what I mean? So it was that was a homecoming as well, and that was when everything. So there's other changes that weren't necessarily reflective of the band. That was the end of the studios, really.
Hmm.
That was the beginning of the end of the studios. People were going in, they're going to do the albums in people's bedrooms and in their, a shed converted with some soundproofing and stuff,
Right.
in garages or whatever. Like no one was going to be paying thousands of dollars a day for some, bougie recording studio, unless that was just you were like had a real budget.
Hmm.
And even then, a lot of people were just like, dude, it's a waste of money. So when we got back with Brian, that felt good, felt comfortable, and we want to kick some ass on this thing, and we did the recording, and then again, we just fell back to the four of us, me and Dirk and Sam and Ryan. And I will say that for myself, because I had been recording with Jeff Ballou, who had, as I mentioned, left during Speakeasy for so long, I always missed that. So Neil was probably held to a much different standard than was fair to him,
Hmm.
because there's a very signature way that Ballou sounds. And so like we do all this, make all these changes and stuff is really weird, but we got out of the whole Nitro thing, and we get this interest from this group, Century Media Group, and they're going to do a new imprint with called Abacus, and our buddy Roy from the Tooth and Nail days, kind of contacted us and wants to be part of the label, and it felt just like we while Mitch and Brad and the guys in the office at Nitro were so awesome and very helpful. I mean, Chris Stencil that did the art was one of my very best friends back in the day, and still love the dude, even though I never get to see him. The ownership of Nitro was not feeling a Christian band, and
Hmm.
that just has like a such a weird connotation. And I'm sure you're familiar with all the Christian band, Christians in a band, and all that stuff. Like the
Yeah.
irony there is pretty strong. But you know, we kind of after all of that, all these different expectations and all these different concerns and worries and how to act and blah 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 blah. Because now we're out of tooth and nail. We realized that none of that stuff mattered at all, and we just wanted to just chill out and make some songs,
Hmm.
And there was also a lot of optimism with some friends of ours at the time. They had their own warehouse, and we're like, dude, let's set up a studio in the warehouse, and we'll do our own record in there, and it's just the four of us, and we went back to a lot of the same gear that we
Hmm.
had used, and again, and said no thank you to gear that we had used on that Nitro album because going back with Brian just reminded us this is the way we're supposed to sound. We're a 90s band. We
Hmm.
should sound like a 90s band. And I will never ever not believe in the Bogner amp. But I don't know anything about playing music, man, like playing an instrument, but I know I don't really care about a bass or boogie. It brings nothing to the table for me. And a Marshall was always just like broken glass in my ear, but the Bogner was like the force of a giant. You know what I mean? It was crunch. It cut. You know what I mean? There was enough sharpness to it that it just, I mean, dude, that's the signature 90s sound, dude. That's all those Dave Jordan records, like Jane's Addiction, all that stuff. Those are all Bogner amps.
Hmm.
Um, that big full sound, I loved that. So, again, all of these things, the Nitro record, the Bull Takes Fighter EP, all that stuff kind of incited in us a desire to like get back to what we sounded like and just kind of maybe turn inward a little bit. And then
Hmm.
having this label be interested in us after they heard the Bull Takes Fighter EP was like wind in our sails, because we were already writing for this thing. And when Century Media contacted us to do a new record, so we already had song ideas and we were already working on stuff. And we were stoked because, in the meantime, we did a couple projects. We did like I said, the Project 86 thing.
Hmm.
And hey man, it's maybe time to move on from Brian, but in a way that makes more sense. And
Hmm.
so we had met Matt and, Brian was really busy and frankly, was probably bored of recording us. But so we went to Matt and and ironically, I mean, we wrote this entire record. We did demos for this entire record in that studio in the garage at Initium Eyewear.
Hmm.
Like we had a little studio in there, the Stage Acre Foundation. We were like, that was my social life for a couple years. Just, okay, music, I got the night off. I'm gonna go down to the studio and hash some stuff out with the fellas.
Hmm.
So it was fun, dude. It was really fun and it felt like the sound was back, especially because that Nitro record was just such a mess, man. And it just was not a good representation of us, at the time. I do think the new version that Stephen Dale remixed is excellent.
Yeah. I love it.
But so we're in there, we're doing this thing. CMV/Abacus wants us to do it. We are like, let's do it. And then we track part of it at 6x6 Studios, which is like the ironic part is like the most amazing studio I've ever been in my life. That's Dave Grohl's studio.
Yeah.
There's freaking platinum records, wall, floor to ceiling, everywhere you look, and massive options for all these instruments that you can use and all the best technology, that Neve board, everything. And we tracked like our fundamentals there, and then we went and did like the vocals and stuff that was less demanding of the room
Hmm.
at the Project 86. Like we called it the Square, the Project 86 Square, which was a rental unit in a storage facility converted to a studio. But that was also like a comfortable surrounding. We used to hang there all the time, track other songs there and stuff, just make music with our buddies. And, Project 86 guys in there, Jason Martin and Starflyer and like all those like Kush guys and all that stuff. There was a lot of
Mm.
people coming out of there. So it's comfortable. So we go in, we're doing this song, and Matt is sitting there. I mean, dude, we're kind of digging it. I mean, we feel really good about the way it sounds and the way it's coming out. And forgive me, Roy, but he came in to listen to some takes, and he sits at the table and we played like at the desk, and we play like 5 or 6 songs. I mean, dude, I don't care what anybody says. You're standing back like trying to see how fired up homie is, and the body language was not what you were hoping for. I mean, think about it. Like Bull Takes Fighter was pretty raw and
Yeah.
pretty aggressive, especially like the title track, and and it was sharp, it was higher tempos, really,
Yeah.
and felt higher tempo at least, even if it maybe wasn't technically higher tempos, it definitely felt that way. Neil had a certain kind of, he had found sort of a real good groove. I mean, I think that riff was his, that main riff on Bull Takes Fighter. And it literally, if I remember correctly, he was like, I don't know, let's just do something different. Just go like this. And he just went, and then that became the riff. Anyway, we got back to kind of a little more controlled vibe, because that's a comfortable place for us. But we genuinely loved the music. We really
Mm.
did. And we were super fired up to have him come in and listen. And he definitely didn't hear the hits that he was hoping for, I don't
Mm.
think. And for context, you asked about that time. The music industry had changed so much. It wasn't just the studios and the bands and the way bands make their living and the contracts that they're signing. It was also the other peripheral machines,
Yeah.
record distribution, record reviewing, press, like the format that you would use just 2 years earlier was irrelevant at that point. There's
Mm.
like hardly magazines were dropping off like flies, man. No one was, you know, I think we had 3 like print magazine reviews during that time. One of them was
Mm.
Revolver, which was one of the only print formats that we did that was that I would have remembered. You know what I'm saying? It's not
Yeah.
like we were getting lined up for Rolling Stone or anything like that. And so all of a sudden they kind of just like attacked it online. And Century Music, Abacus was an extension of Century Music, but it was supposed to be like a mainstream rock imprint. That's the way they sold it to us,
Mm.
factually. They said, this is not meant to be like the other stuff that we have, which is like a lot of death metal and hardcore and all that kind of stuff. And I think they had Earth Crisis, they had Lacuna Coil, like a completely different vibe than Stavesacre.
Yeah.
But we're supposed to be like their mainstream rock band, which is what we are. And I don't think they were ready to do that,
Mm.
frankly. And all their connections in online media and online reviews were hardcore sites and
Yeah.
literally websites. And dude, I I I know how this could sound. I don't really give a shit. People are cruel, and at that time, it was super easy to be cruel.
Yeah.
You could just talk shit on anyone you wanted, and you're not going to get censored, and you're not going to get blasted for it because you're a nameless, faceless person behind a website, and people got off on it, man. I mean, you expected every review to be brutal
Mm.
because that's just how people dug on it. And then every once in a while, somebody would review really, really well and people loved it. And then the stuff would just launch. And, in fairness to to the people reviewing, they were definitely ready for a sound that was different from ours, but also they were used to bands whose logos look like entrails. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
coming from this label. So for us to show up and do this, like, basically dad rock, they hated it.
Mm.
all the reviews really truly hated what we were doing.
Hmm.
And there's no way around it. And I mean, some of them were just vicious. I wrote about them later. This song that we have on the next EP that we wrote that was like we returned, we think, oh, you guys suck. We're just going to do it ourselves. That's where we were coming from at that point. We wrote a song there called Teeth Like Knives, and it was about that time where people just got off on wrecking you.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's one thing, now people probably hear that and they're still like, oh, they could take it. It's like, dude, that just wasn't the way things were in the back in the day. If you got reviewed in a magazine and they didn't dig what you were doing, you could tell, but they would find a way to kind of like get through it without being a dick. And
Yeah.
instead, these dudes just complete reversal. And there's no denying that that's the way things were. That's how things turned out. The funny thing is, the ironic thing is my sorry, hated band still making music long after 95% of these websites disappeared. Like nobody gives a shit about, bustedknuckle.com. They
Right.
just, they couldn't care less. And what a weird change of events is just like, the music industry itself was destroyed. The touring industry was destroyed. Music in general was totally changing its vibe. That was like all these indie bands and this kind of like the super arrogant indie bands thing had sort of kind of gone its way, but now it's like bands like people kind of left a lot of these peripheral websites and kind of went to more respected ones, I guess, like Pitchfork. Pitchfork really kind of set the tone for where music was at. And so at that time, we just weren't playing what people were listening to at all, man. And I thought the record was really good, but the label definitely did not love it. And it came at a they were not ready for a mainstream
Hmm.
rock band like us. And truthfully, not and I don't mean that in like, oh, they weren't ready. I mean, I don't think they really wanted that,
Yeah.
and that's okay, dude. It's like it's cool. Anyway, so that was what the time was. I know that was very long-winded, but that's what we came into with this record. And dude, we definitely. Oh, even though I rambled forever, I want to make this point. Like when we tracked this record, keeping in mind what I just said, that we felt we were under familiar situations, and the core of the band was putting the album together. When it came out, that album Jeff Ballou heard that album when he was still managing Target Records at the time,
Hmm.
which I mean doesn't even exist anymore. But he heard the record and he said, "This is the most Stavesacre sounding record that you guys have done," and I wished I could have been a part of it. It's my favorite Stavesacre record at this point.
Hmm.
And then he jumped back in the band. So it was cool. I felt like Ryan didn't really get enough respect for what he brought to the table on it, and I definitely felt like Dirk and Sam had come back to being the rhythm section.
Yeah.
And seriously, for a guy who's never recorded us before, Matt Hyde 100%. We loved it. We loved everything that he did. It
Yeah.
was it was awesome. It was an awesome experience. And
Yeah.
there were moments, dude. There were moments when I heard some songs on that record that like I genuinely got like chills down my spine, got a little weepy. Like it was like from the first album feeling, and it was
Yeah.
awesome.
No, I mean, I feel the exact same way. I I know there are a lot of people who are going to say those first two records, they're the Stavesacre sound. I I love late stage Stavesacre. I love the
No, thanks.
progression you guys made. I love that it's you called it dad rock, and I'm like, I guess. But like for me, like it's this uncategorizable rock at times because it's
Yeah.
it's hard and edgy, but it's not alternative rock. And I love that you get some of the mid tempo and you do slow things way down on this
Mhm.
record. There's a lot of variety and there's a lot of pop sensibility that you guys start to show on this record. And So it's interesting to hear like kind of some of those changes. Was that evolution of sound something that was there tension in the band about that evolution? Because
Uh,
it does. It sounds so different.
I would say the tension really did come during self-titled,
Okay.
because we had never had a producer before. Brian Karlstrom recording us, and a lot of people don't know this, by the way. I just want to say something. Speakeasy was written by the five of us.
Hmm.
Jeff Ballou recorded on every one of those songs. He sang on half of the record. We put Jeff Ballou additional guitars on there because we were pissed at him for quitting the band. No
Sure.
joke.
Oh
It
man.
hurt our feelings, and we went through hell to get that record out, dude. Three different
Hmm.
studios. You know what I mean? So to get Speakeasy out was brutal, and we were mad at Baloo. And then, things came around, and that's a joke. Like, you asked Baloo about that right now. So what was it like playing additional guitars on Speakeasy? He wrote half the record, man. You know, but people just, it's perception, and that's just what it is. I think the tension that you heard on Curse isn't between the band. It was more like a sort of a renewed confidence.
Hmm.
There's a song on there called, I think it's called Sort This Out. We never played it live, and the guys didn't really love it. But whenever I heard that riff, I always loved the riff of the song, and so I wanted to write we are not trying to ask your permission to play our music anymore type of song. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying?
Yeah. I mean, on this record too, you guys got into some different things, right? Like there's straight up political songs on this
Yeah.
record. We Say and The Future History of the Brokenhearted. I don't feel like, and I could be wrong. You could be like, no, Caleb, you missed it. I don't feel like you kind of covered those topics previously on Stave Sake, or not as overtly as this, where this
Yeah.
one is like pretty overt. What was different about this record, and why like the timing of it, and why now?
I mean, yeah, we wrote about political stuff on all the albums, of
Hmm.
course, but definitely a little more obscure, try not to alienate
Right.
anyone. But Anathema is a 100% politically, that song is a critique on the United States of America. Uh, um, Once great, you know,
Hmm.
then, you know, absolutes. There's like five songs on there that are absolutely politically
Hmm.
motivated. If you listen to like Colt 45, say, especially right now, would be a politically charged song, although it'd probably be directed in a different way. Zizek Scarecrow I mean, that song is about the pathetic attempt at the justice system to bring about justice for a victim.
Hmm.
um, and uh, and for the victim's family, and the way it made me feel. And while probably I definitely see the topic of that song is the death penalty. Um, it's still an honest song.
Hmm.
I don't feel the same way. Like, especially now that I think I have a better understanding of what the scriptures say. I don't This like bloodlust shit is not for me.
Yeah.
And also it just I think what came out. I'd like to say that that's been so consistently the deal. What do you mean? But that's honestly not true.
Hmm.
I would say the biggest reason why it came to the forefront and why it like sort of exploded topically for us was social media.
Hmm.
Like, MySpace was huge when we were writing that record, and that was the first real interaction people had had. And Obama was running for president, and the war in Iraq had turned up to be a complete, not only a dismal failure and an abject indictment on American foreign policy, but also a radicalization for quite a few young Christian people
Hmm.
who had grown up in the American evangelical church, and who were already doing what people now call deconstruction, but for us, it was just called getting free. I mean,
Hmm.
Speaky is easy is all about that. it is literally, it started on absolutes with uneclipsing. Uneclipsing was an absolute fire starter. I'm out of here. This is not for me. This is not what
Hmm.
I want. And it escalated on Speakeasy and became even more pronounced in both Bull Takes Fighter and this record. And so like social media was exploding at that time, and Obama was running for president, and to a lot of people, he seemed like hopeful. The poster took off for a reason, dude.
Yeah.
And there was like the huge debate about abortion, and the one thing that Obama said that I'd never heard a president or a presidential candidate say before is, you can have whatever feelings you want about abortion, but I think we could probably all come to an agreement that we need less of them.
Hmm.
And for one reason or another, that was in his book, and dude, that was enough for me. I'm like, this is way more practical than any of the stuff these dopes are saying, and none of them, I don't believe any of them believe it. I never believed that they believed it then, and I absolutely don't believe it now.
Yeah.
So, at the time, it seemed like a big deal. And, I don't know if you remember, were you using MySpace or anything? Were you too young for
I've
that?
used oh no, I've used MySpace. I'm old.
Okay.
I'm
So, yeah. So I mean, there was the big deal when Obama was running was the whole Barack Hussein Obama from the sheriff. And that was literally one of the very first viral videos that I can remember,
hmm.
was that guy saying that over and over and over again, and people talking about it. And, no longer was a viral video just a dude getting hit in the nuts with a 2x4. It was this,
Yeah.
something that people drastically had a felt a certain type of way about. And uh, so that was definitely part of it. The politics of the time were so on my mind, dude. We just killed all these people,
Yeah.
you know, and I wanted it. I wanted that war, dude. I was fired up that I'm a Christian and we got a Christian president in there and we're gonna do something about this. And I bet, and I will tell you, maybe they won't all admit it, but a lot of people felt the same way because we were
Hmm.
still really upset and really mad and really hurt because of everything that had transpired from there. But then feeling taken advantage of and having our grief exploited by these people to make a bunch of money
Hmm.
was like, was that was my first taste of like true political discontent.
Yeah.
Like, all through the 90s, we had like Rage Against the Machine, freaking Public Enemy, all these like all the entire punk scene was so politically charged, but it was all with a kind of a like, you know, fuck Ronald Reagan kind of deal. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
sorry for my language, but this was different, dude. This was real, and now it is even more so. So
Yeah.
I think it just was going to come out regardless, and I felt like the two songs on there, we say was a tough one for me to write because I don't ever write before the music. I always write once the music is presented to me because I don't know what the mood is, dude. You can't, you know, every once in a while I'll have like a snippet of lyrics, something that I think is kind of clever or whatever, or something that really says what I mean to say, and I'll try and rework it, but I still have to judge for myself whether it fits the mood of the music. So
Hmm.
we say, if you think about it, like it's not a pissed off song really, but it's almost kind of like a upbeat, like a positive song, you
Hmm.
know? Um, da, 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 you know what I mean? It's not really like it's not there's no fierceness there, you know what I mean? Or we're not turning down a dark corner.
It's
So
a little
that was
punk rock with the gang
yeah,
vocals and
yeah.
everything.
And but again, all those things come later, but it had that up tempo as
Yeah.
well. And good movement, kind of fit in that sort of in that there's that Orange 9 millimeter. Uh, I don't know what other band would be a good example from the early 90s, but that up tempoed post-hardcore vibe
Hmm.
we always loved. So there was that, and then Broke Future History. That song to me was just pure rage. It
Hmm.
immediately came out from me as something that caused me anger. You know what I mean? That would be a good vehicle for anger. And I really hadn't written much that pissed off since. I was a kid writing punk songs,
Hmm.
pissed off about nothing. But now I'm legitimately pissed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's one thing to say, we hate the system. We're not going to do what you tell us. It's another thing to be like, no, dude, I full on hate the system, man. And I'm tired of doing what they told me. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? It's like, it's just those feelings, once they're finally sincere, they bring about a completely different emotion. So,
Hmm.
yeah, that had come out, and that again, we were still in that like post, like just the footage was just ongoing, man, and then at the same time, I was working at a bar because I was a bartender for so many years. The bar I was at the time we were writing this record was owned by an Iranian, a Lebanese man, and a Jordanian.
Hmm.
And I became really good friends with those dudes. They Another thing that had happened during this time, I believe it was like Speakeasy come out what 2006, right?
How to
Or
Live with a
I mean
Curse
How to
is,
Live with a
yeah,
Curse. Uh,
2006. Yep.
so I believe, and I might have my timeline off on this, but that was also post the the original Arab Spring, if you will, like
Hmm.
the green bandanas and the video of Netta. Again, social media, the video of Netta. I'm watching it on my flip phone, and I burst into tears. I don't know if you've seen that, but it was a young lady who was just on the streets. She wasn't protesting or anything in Iran, and she was shot and killed
Hmm.
when the enforcers came through with the bullwhips and all that. And it was full riot. And it was the first time someone had like camera down into the shot and you see the person's face as she dies. And it just wrecked me.
Hmm.
And again, the country, what do? We spend a bunch of time mourning Michael Jackson's death, and no one even talked about it.
Yeah.
You know, like I remember posting on MySpace. I'll bet if that archive is still there, I guarantee I posted on there that it is bizarre to me. Something like this. Like it's weird how the entire country will mourn a man they wouldn't let babysit their kids. Meanwhile, there is a revolution, an epic revolution happening in a part of the country that has terrified us for so long. You know what I mean? Like it
Yeah.
was like so odd to see no one care, As again, social media, celebrity, a massive celebrity has passed away, a very controversial one. It was a weird time, man. So I think
Yeah.
that some of that tension on that record is definitely coming from that too,
Hmm.
times, man.
So the flip side of that, then, I think, is the song "Fear and Love," which I have a super personal connection to. This real quick story is I used to work in a special ed room, and I made videos with kids who were severely disabled for their tech ed class, and I used "Fear and Love." I emailed the band actually, and Dirk responded, "Is like, yeah, go ahead, use our music, whatever you want to do." So I used that to kind of close out the video because it's such a
Yeah.
hopeful song, and so you talked about, like, I can't listen to that song without crying. I just weep. I think of those kids. It was a super special time in my life. I think the song is very powerful. So that's the flip side of it, is that song feels a lot more hopeful.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah,
so
yeah.
where did that song come from in all of this like anger and rage?
I mean, I'll tell you straight out, it's not gonna the way the music sounded.
Sure.
I think Ryan M. Ballou wrote that song. Or no, Ryan wrote that song because again, it was just us. I'm pretty sure that's correct. And there were different versions of it or whatever, the riff, but like the one that I heard, I was like, dude, this is like beautiful. We could do
Hmm.
something beautiful here. And we always kind of tried to do that whenever we could, Wither Ascend or Gold and Silver, things
Gold
like
and
that. You know
silver,
what I
yeah.
mean? We like to we can be pretty and dress up. And that song to me, dude, there was a lot of sadness and a lot of heartache during that time. And, it's another political reference in there, folding hope from corner to corner.
Hmm.
You see these American flags on these young Americans who have died for nothing, for a
Yeah.
lie. Uh, how the song was just like, how do I respond in a time like this to this? I truly don't know. I would wake up at night and I don't know the best way to respond to this because people are looking at me like, where's your God now?
Yeah.
You know? Um, so there's that. That's, by the way, that's my dad's favorite song that we've ever written. He listens to it all the time,
I
which is
love it.
pretty
It's my
dope.
favorite song on this record, and it's a, it is. It shows that new sound. It's that a little more mid tempo,
Yep.
but it's so pretty and it's so perfectly placed in the album. And I think it's kind of
Yeah.
magic.
I thought so. I thought it was a nice one, man. Really
Yeah.
nice.
So I want to ask about one more song, and it's
Sure, sure.
"Kill My Darlings," which closes out. Which I'll say just feels like this personal diary. That's how it feels to me. Is like it seems to encapsulate this idea of like living with struggle and living with almost like a thorn in your side. I mean, that's how you live with a curse is one of the lines
I
from it.
I don't mean to.
I
Yeah,
mean,
man.
I don't want to read too much into it, but like where did that song come from? And just like, was it just, again, just hear the music? I'm assuming that was always intended to be the closing track because it feels like it. I also love how I love how the title of the album is in the closing track. I love when albums end with their title track, or at least
I,
the
I will
throwback to the
tell you straight up that was 100% intentional because I've
nice.
always hated it when there was no link to the title. That just drove me nuts. But but I felt like Speakeasy's link was the inward looking for that. But point is, I still like albums, dude.
Yeah.
I still love a record that comes off like a unit of music from a specific place and time. I dig when artists cover their own songs and do them again and present them in a different way for this place and time that this album represents.
Hmm.
And they're not in vogue anymore, or at least currently. I'm sure it'll come back around, but right now a lot of people are just putting out, like EPs at the most.
Yeah.
And in truth, sometimes an album feels a little self-indulgent. It's like, dude, I know you're too old to have 10 songs that are your best right now.
Hmm. Yeah.
But, sometimes, man, every once in a while, somebody just has that in them and it comes out, so that record, it felt like an album to me. It felt like a big old piece of time. And Kill My Darlings, when the music was written, felt like a closer. Like if I feel like the album is an album, I'm looking for a closer, waiting for that one to come up while I'm laying on the floor in the studio and the guys are playing.
Hmm.
And when I heard it, I was just like immediately. I remember we were in the Initium warehouse at Stave Acre Foundation, and I remember the first time they played it. I immediately had a melody, and everybody loved it. Like
Hmm.
we were all super, super fired up about that song. And so I took the time of that, which was full of so much, tumult and new fears being unlocked and all this. And I just thought, how how do I what do I do with all this information,
Hmm.
Um, and I just thought, you pray, you meditate, you take it all in, and then you meditate. But the song, and I will say, this is going to sound super pretentious. I don't really care. I didn't intend this, but it definitely happened, man. And that's what happens when you write things honestly, I think. But I didn't intend it to reflect the uh, the uncertainty of the times,
Hmm.
But I look back on it now and I feel like it had to. That's why I felt the way I felt when I wrote that song. I was totally uncertain when I wrote Free Fall on Speakeasy. That song reflected where I was at that point in my life.
Hmm.
And I didn't do that because I need to write a song that reflects this point in my life. I just wrote the song, right? And Kill My Darlings felt the same way, dude. It just felt like this is how I feel right now, and it feels like a closer. And then now I go back and I listen to it, and I'm like, dude, I kind of feel like it sums up all the shit that you're freaking out about in this record,
Yeah.
from the personal stuff, like, people being hurtful towards you or dismissive of you, or forgetting that you exist at a time when you really need them, or never having believed in you in the first place, to like, not only I got all this going on, I also like, I believed a lie for a long time, and now I guess we just kill people now. And you
Mm,
know what I mean? Like all these things, my concept of justice, which again, at the time I still sort of held on to, because, hey, look, here comes this hopeful dude coming in and he's going to fix a bunch of stuff. And I don't think he's going to be perfect because I don't believe any of these dudes are ever really perfect. But now I even believe that even more so. Like this, after he he was not who I was hoping he'd be either. Oh,
mm.
surprise, surprise. He was a lot better than other dudes, but
That was well played. Well, you didn't. That was good. That was real coy. Nobody has any idea what you're talking about.
I mean, why are we let's playing around? I can't. This dude, I do not back this guy.
Yeah.
I think this is the best. This is the single best argument you could present to me for the entire true body of Christ to remove itself from this process.
Yep.
You know, it's fine if you don't think about when the war in Gaza, when the massacre in Gaza began. Okay. If you don't think about that and you just think about Orange Man bad, you can let yourself off the hook a little bit if you're of one political leaning or another. But dude, we tried to tell them this has to end, and they didn't listen, and then they lost.
Hmm.
And now the dude that's in there that they said you won't, it's going to be worse if he's there. Yeah, it is. But dude, you should have listened to the people, bro. And so I have no qualms about making my feelings known there. But even then, like, I'm right now in a place where I have to do the podcast again because I don't have a chance to write another Kill My Darlings. But I've got to get this off my chest, not because I'm so awesome and I'm going to change anything, but dude, it's the only way I can respond to the things that are happening in my world.
Yeah.
And I'm very proud of that record because I feel that it represents that, man, and not in a setup. It wasn't a setup. It wasn't a tee up. And that song, dude, just if like I think about it, it's no stranger to anyone right now. No one would be surprised if you said the world is very distracting at this
Mm.
time. We have a hard time focusing on things. I have to take medication because I can't. It's my brain is constantly clicking from shutter to shutter, and like
Yeah.
I that was not the conversation in 2006 when nobody talking about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll sell MTV, ruined your brains, quick edits and all that type of stuff, but not to the extent that things are now. This is why the early 2000s is why we got kids growing up that have had a tablet in front of their face their entire life. You know what I mean?
Yep.
All the portable DVD players. The kid just sits there with the movie right in their face. That's what began this, and it's just easier because now you don't have to carry around a bunch of DVDs. You know what I mean? Like it takes a serious effort to still yourself, to clear your mind, and to just meditate on what you know is true.
Yeah.
And that's the best I got. So, and not even necessarily what I can control. Like I can't control very much at all.
Yeah.
Newsflash, things still happen that are bad
Yeah.
in my own personal life that I allegedly have so much control over. Dude, it's just you just gotta live and you gotta get your freaking balance in so that if you're gonna do anything, you can at least do it with a focused mind and not in a way that is going to be causing more harm. So,
Yeah. It's an album and it's a song that feels more relevant 20 years later, to separate, concentrate, surrendering through meditation, centering a soul, a kingdom first, a blade of verse, deconstructing in reverse. Like even the use of deconstruction in 2006 Like that has become the buzzword of the last 10 years. And you used it 10 years before it took off
Dude,
as
we
a
wrote
word.
about it
Yeah.
in 1999, man.
Yeah.
We wrote about that very topic. We even used reconstruct through deconstruction. Like, dude, it's just, but we didn't start nothing, dude. That was just, there were a lot of people who felt that way,
Yeah.
So
I think it's just honesty coming out
yeah,
in
man.
song, and it is what it is. What it is. It
Dude, I
shows.
haven't listened to it in a long time, and now maybe I might go listen to my own record because I'm that narcissistic, self-involved dude that everybody always thought I was.
I after talking, so I listened to it a lot to prep for the show that we did, and then we got done talking, and I put it back in because I was like, I want to listen to
Ah,
this again. So yeah,
killer, man.
it's a great album.
Yeah.
Um, I know we're up against the clock here, so I
Sorry,
want to give
but
you a little
sorry.
time to no, I want to give you a little time to prep for the next thing. I cannot say thank you enough for hanging out and talking about this record. I'm so excited for people to get some of the insights. We like touched on some of these things as we talked, like little pieces, and it's like fun to hear them
Killer.
confirmed and kind of tie it in and so. Yeah, thanks so much. And I'm excited to hear the podcast might be coming back. I don't know if you want that out in the open,
Yeah, no,
but
no, that's it's got to happen. Doctor's orders.
okay. So that's exciting for people to look forward to, that the return of the podcast.
Yeah, man.
What is the podcast name again, just for people who may not be as
It's
familiar?
called Never Was, and it used to be. It sort of defaulted into Christian music nostalgia thing, which I just is easy, but
Yeah,
I have very little interest in that really. I'm still planning on, I'll bring on anybody that I want to come on, especially anyone I've known from back in the day, because I love hearing how they're doing about
yeah,
this that's happening right now. You know what I mean? Like, I love that, but it will definitely take a different turn. And my hope, I don't know if it'll be the first one, but my hope is to do both a video and audio,
cool,
so that there'll be some art involved and things like that. So try to
nice.
be something a little bit more of an outlet because I need that, man, or I'm gonna lose my mind.
I think we all do. I need this as a, you know,
I get
this
it.
sort of stuff is like getting to talk with people about music is like
Yeah, man.
it helps me unwind from the day and not, stuff I can just enjoy. So yeah.
Awesome. Awesome.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Mark. I really
Bro,
appreciate it. The
you're
album
great.
rules. It still means a lot to a lot of us, and so we appreciate it. So
Thank
yeah,
you
thank
so
you so
much.
much.
Hey, dude, I really appreciate you, man. Thank you for giving a shit. I
Yeah,
dig it.
awesome.
Thanks,
Thank
bud.
you.
All right, later.
Dear Lord, what happened to the time? Fear and love at war again today. After all, it comes back down to this.
Thanks so much for listening to this special episode of the Album Anniversary Podcast. Obviously, I want to say thanks to Mark for taking the time to talk with me about this record. It was great. Super cool to get some of those insights. And so thanks so much, Mark. I really appreciate it. Go check the record out. Go buy it from their merch store. I think they still maybe have copies available. I think we talked about it on the other show. Go back and check out the episode where me and Matt and Scott talked about this record at length and gushed over this record. I'm on all the social medias. Find me on Patreon, YouTube, all those places, Facebook. I'm all doing the normal thing. If you search for the Album Anniversary Podcast, you should be able to find me. Thanks so much, everybody. We will talk to you soon.